my mother was my life, you know. She was everything. And when she died, it was like somebody turned the lights out in my life. I would go to the neighborhood bar, drink a little, and then come home, go into my room, turn out the light, sit on the side of my bed and cry myself to sleep. That was my routine for about maybe a week and a half after she passed away. But this one night, I came home straight from the bar, ready to do my routine. And then I came in my room, I turned out the lights and sat on the side of my bed. And I went to untie my sneakers. And when I went to untie my sneakers, I noticed that there was light on the ground. And I said, that can't be. I just turned out the light. I know I just turned out the light. It can't be. Here's the crazy part. When I looked up, the sun that you see in the sky was in my room. And when I looked up and I saw the sun in my room, it was like a wave that covered my body. Like if you're in the ocean and the wave is too big for your body and it covers your whole body, it was like that, except the water was love. And it just covered every part of my body, my whole soul, everything. In this sun, which later I found out to be God, were two stars, one big one and one smaller one. And the smaller one, I felt and could feel that was my mother. And they both floated out to me. The first thing I said was, wow, Mom, it's like that over there. They both floated out to me. My mouth is like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And my mother starts to speak to me like I'm talking to you now, except when she would talk to me, it's like the conversation was being shot into me. Like I could feel the conversation in my body, but I could hear her like I hear you talking. And she said, I'm going to tell you a week in the future so you know that this is not an illusion or something fake or you something that you think you imagined. And she said, you're going to get a job next week. Now, I'm a musician, I'm a singer, soul singer, and a saxophone player. But my band, we hadn't worked in about 2 or 3 weeks. It was like kind of a dry spell, you know, with not a lot of work. And she said, well, you're going to get a job next week. And she said, there's going to be at this club that you get the job, there's going to be a doorman, a bouncer, we call it. He's going to be a homosexual and he's going to be a psychopath. And she said, do not, whatever you do not get into an argument with him. Or two timelines would happen. Now, this part, when she started to talk about timelines, she started to sound like, the Enterprise and Captain Kirk, and Star Trek. She started to sound like that. She said, there's two timelines that's going to happen if you get into an argument with him. She said that one of them, he's going to kill you. And the other timeline, you kill him, but you go to jail for the rest of your life. Now, she said one of these two timelines will happen if you get into an argument with him. I was so happy to see my mother. I said, Mom, I do anything you tell me to do. Anything you say, I'm doing it. Because my mother knew me, I'm not against homosexuals or lesbians whatever is not normal and sexual behavior, or not normal, but whatever sexual behavior you have, I have nothing against it. As long as you know that I'm straight and you know that I don't go that way, and as long as you don't come after me knowing that I'm straight. But she knew me that I was not looking for trouble, but she knew that I could handle trouble if it came my way. But she told me, don't get into an argument with this guy. And then she told me another thing. She said, the girl friend that you have now, because I'd been seeing this girl for about maybe a year and a half or something like that. She said she has 3 kids you don't know about. And she said she's going to try to have a fourth kid with you. She's going to try to trap you or say she's on the pill or say something to trap you. She said, be careful about that. And then she took a pause. And then I said, but Mom, tell me, who is this other light standing next to you because this other light was like 7 foot tall standing next to her. And then when I asked her who the other light was, this other light, it spoke to me and it said, I'm an escort. I'm escorting your mother to the earth plane. And I said to it, I said, an escort. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I got a lot of questions for you because my room is lit up like Star Wars. I want to know why am I here? Who's going to be my wife? How many kids am I going to have? What's the meaning of life? And this, I call it now an angel. This angel quietly said, I'm going to tell you all you asked me, but you won't be allowed to remember only what your mother told you. And it told me all my answers, but I couldn't remember. I only remember what my mother told me. So at the end, my mother, she said, I love you and I'll always be around you, but you won't realize I'm around you as much as you do tonight. And then they started to slowly go back into the sun that was in my room. And it's like if you put a ice cube in a glass and the ice cube starts to slowly melt. That's how it was. They were slowly going back into the sun, and the sun was slowly fading away. And the light in my room slowly started to dim and go darker and darker. And when it finally got totally dark, tears just burst out my eyes, man. I said, nobody's ever gonna believe this happened. Nobody's gonna believe me. Nobody's gonna believe this. Nobody's gonna believe this. The next day, my band called me and they said, hey man, we got a job. Now, I wasn't going to tell my band members what happened the night before because I didn't want them to think, oh man, he's a great singer, great saxophone player, but when his mom died, he lost it, man. He lost his mind. So I said, I'm not going to tell them what happened yesterday. So I said, oh, okay, that's great. That's great. We got a job. Okay. So I hung up the phone and then I thought, I said, that's strange. My mother said that and now it's starting to happen. Then I went to this new club, which is like to do a sound check. And what for people who don't know what a sound check is, it's just when the band checks all the sound equipment to make sure it's functioning and working correctly a couple hours before we do the actual show. So we did our sound check. I went to the club. There was two bouncers, two guys at the door. But they didn't say anything to me and they didn't do anything strange. So I mean, nothing happened. I went into the club. We did our sound check. Sounded great. We left. And then I came back to the club at night for the show. We had two shows to do. So I came into the club. These two bouncers was there. They still didn't say anything to me. And I came in the club. We did our first show. First show went great. The people loved it. Everybody was happy. And I was on break now, talking to my band. I was here and my band was here. Now we're talking, I'm on a break, and then this bouncer walks behind me, and as I'm talking, he grabs my butt. And I'm talking, I'm like, hey, what? And he walks to the corner of the club and just watches me, stares at me. And I told my band, hey guys, did you see that? This guy just grabbed my butt, man. I was very angry. I said, I got to tell this guy something. I got to tell this guy something. So I went over there right away to tell him. And as I was walking towards him in the corner, I said, oh, yeah, Mom, don't forget. Don't lose it, man. Don't lose it. Be calm. Be calm. Be calm. Just go over there and tell him you're not like that and don't touch me no more. So I went over there and I said, hey, man, listen, I want to tell you, I'm not like that. Please don't touch me anymore. And he said, I didn't touch you. You had too many beers. I said, no, you did touch me, and I'm asking you, please don't touch me. I'm not like that. And then he said, why'd you tell your friends? And I said, I told my friends because you touched me. And I'm telling you, please don't touch me. I'm not like that. And then I left because the longer I stayed in front of him, the more the conversation was going towards a fight or a dispute, a major argument. So, so I left. I just told him, please don't touch me. I'm not like that. And I left. I just left him. So we did the second show. It was a great show, but I didn't hang out after. Normally, I would, after I do a show, I would hang out in the club a little bit, talk with the people. This time, I didn't feel comfortable. So I did the show and I left. I walked by him to get out of the club, but he didn't do anything, just looked at me strange. And I left the club. And that was the night. That was the end of that night. Now, the next morning, I got a phone call from my band member, and he said, "Hey, man, did you hear what happened?" I said, "No. I mean, I left the club last night. It was okay. Everything was okay." He said, "Remember that bouncer you told us about that grabbed you?" I said, "Yeah." He said he got into an argument with the club owner, man, and crushed both of his rib cages, and he's now in jail for manslaughter. I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, man, that guy was a crazy psychopath, crazy." And even then, I was tempted, but I didn't tell my band member that my mother had already told me that. And the club owner was a nice guy, really cool people, nice guy, and it really shocked me. And so I hung up the phone and I said, "Oh my God, oh my God, everything my mother said is now coming true." And I said, "If that's true, oh, my girlfriend, oh, I gotta call her, gotta call her." So I picked up the phone and I called her and she answered the phone, "Hello." And I said, "Hello, tell me something. Just have a question for you. Just tell me the truth. It's okay. Do you have three kids?" And the phone went silent. And then she said, "Who told you?" And I said, "Oh no, this can't be. This can't be. This can't be. I know this girl for almost 2 years. I'm going to ask you again. Maybe you didn't hear my question properly." I said, "Do you have three kids?" And she said, "Yes, I do have three kids, but who told you?" And I said, "Well, if you had told me about you had three kids, it wouldn't have been a problem for me. But I'm going to tell you who told me. My dead mother told me that you had three kids, and we're finished. I wouldn't have a problem with you if you had kids, if you had told me. But for you to hide your own kids, I don't know what else you could be hiding. So we're finished." So we broke up that day, and I hung up the phone. And that was my first spiritual encounter, I would say. And that encounter let me know that there was a little bit more to life than what we think, that we normally think it is.